Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Good afternoon.
Hi, Sapphire.
Good
How are
afternoon.
you? How are you, Tia? How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good
Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Lamar. Good afternoon, Samara.
Good
Hey,
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
hey, good afternoon, Braylon. Good afternoon, Maria. So I see 12 people here, right? 12 people. Good afternoon from Alicia, right? 12 people. And it looks like it should be 13 because if it says 14 down here, it should be 13. So let me also quickly check how many are in the discussion board. Because, don't forget, if you are in the collaborate session and you haven't signed into the discussion board, right? You don't have physical proof uh, of attendance. So please don't forget to do this, right? And in today's forum, I see 14 people, right? 14 postings, so 14 people. So there's got to be also there's got to be also okay. I see 17 people. So at least three of you. That means three of you here haven't reported attendance here yet. So don't forget to do that because it's as critical. That's your physical, and it looks like 16 have done it. So yeah, it looks like now one more person needs to do that. So oh, I would also like to briefly point to the latest announcement. You see, the latest announcement was two things, ROI concept check, self-diagnostic test, right? So this is going to be available from this coming Friday and it's due this Sunday. So that means you have a 3-day window to do it, but you must do it within 120 minutes. So once you start, the clock starts counting, and you have 120 minutes to finish it um, in one sitting, right? In a single sitting. Uh, so it's not visible just yet. You might, it's gonna be, it's gonna appear here in the assignments. It's just not visible yet. It's gonna appear as scheduled. Okay, so it's gonna appear 12 midnight Friday the 11th. Okay, 0 hour Friday 11th. Okay, so some people say I don't see anything. It's not. You can't see it until it is until the time it is scheduled. Okay, and then another thing, some people were asking, not necessarily from this class, but from other classes. Some people were asking about, if there is some like Excel boot camp. Uh, yeah, there is. This is actually, I don't know if this is a boot camp but it's preparing you to actually get a Excel certificate. So, and if you were to take that exam, it costs $100. But this is after this training, it's for free. And I just sent out this earlier as I was on the train. But I'm here on time. I'm here on time, so that's a good thing. Um, so that's just about it. So someone raised a hand. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah, go ahead, Kelly. You had a question? Kelly? I guess no
Hi,
question.
sorry, I was trying to unmute my mic. No, yeah, I bought the textbook. I'm trying to confirm that this is the right one. Let me see if I can show you. I think it's going to be backwards anyway. Wait, you can't see anything, can you?
What was that about?
Hello?
Yeah, what was that about?
I'm trying to show you my textbook. I'm wondering if this is the correct one. The video is backwards. I don't know. Can you see me?
Yeah. Intro. Yeah. Custom edition. That must be the right one.
Is it correct one? Okay.
Must be the right one.
Sure. All right.
Yeah. Where did you get it from?
The bookstore at BMCC.
Bookstore. Yeah, then it's the correct one.
All right.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with the bookstore. Now, so I see 19 people. So that means I gotta see also 19 there in the discussion board. 23. So that means there are 21 people here, right? Except my 2 postings, 21. So one more person needs to be here, right? All righty. So we'll continue with we'll continue from where we left off in the last class. So in the last class, we were talking about how to find geometric average, and I gave you that the formula is basically I'm gonna write it here. Let me write it here. Draw. Where do I see draw? Oh, here's the thing. It doesn't allow me to draw on this. This one doesn't allow. Okay, if it doesn't allow me to draw, I'll just write in the insert or review comment, right? Comment box. Okay. Growth rate or geometric average is future value over present value raised to 1 over n, right, minus 1. Okay, I'm going to come back to that later. Or which can be also which is the same thing as in our example, it's too small, so let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay. All right, it looks better. There is no subscript here, so you'll just have to. So 1 over n. No, n is 11 in this case. Minus 1. Let me move it here. Okay. Ah. This looks okay. Now then, our next question is, I've been telling you this is only the case of the return or growth rate under scenario 1. So you know what scenario 1 is, right? That's when you buy the house and just use it as your residence, right? But on the scenario 2, and I explained the difference between the R and G. Basically, growth rate is the return. Growth rate is the same thing as return in scenario 1, but it won't be the same thing in scenario 2, because in scenario 2, return doesn't come only from the capital gains, but return comes also from the additional cash flow. So in scenario 2, return is not the same thing as growth rate. Okay, growth rate is only part of the return. So then to calculate return year by year, annually, what do you need to do? Well, of course, then you will need to add these two, right? In other words, this plus this. And then you divide it by the previous year, right? The house value of the previous year, right? So there you go. And then the rest of them still, it's the same thing. We'll just, drag it down, and then we get, return for each year, right? Since 2006. But again, take a look at this. Between 2006 and 2008, over these 3 years, the growth rate and return are the same. And it has to be because, you didn't rent out, right? You didn't rent out the house between 2006 and 2008. You didn't rent out the house in those 3 years. Then, the return and growth rate will have to be the same. And this proves, and this validates and proves that the return is the same thing as growth rate in scenario 1, right? And the only source of difference between the two is the additional income, right? If there is no additional income, additional cash flow, then they must be the same thing. And in this case, let's find the arithmetic average, which is, we use the same thing. If you copy and, drag it to the right, the same average command is copied. So you come to this. But again, this is wrong. This is not the right thing. Again, just like in scenario 1, if you don't use geometric average, right? This simple average or arithmetic average alone will overstate the actual return. So then, how do we calculate this? Can we do the same thing like this? Now, in this case, you can't do the same thing. Why? Because we're not dealing with, we cannot just use the house value. It's not the house value alone. It is with the income, right? It's with the rental income. So you cannot use this. This is what you can use only in the scenario 1. So in scenario 2, what do you need to do? We'll have to find, 1 plus R. Okay. So let me, and then let me tell you why. First of all, let's go back to, did I must have downloaded it here. Why isn't it showing? Or let me go to, okay, here it is. Oh, not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So, oh God, I gotta download it again. All right, let me go just download it from there. Okay. So let me open it from there. All right. So think about it. How did this come to, how did the house value 2000, if you think about it, house value 2006, the price of the house 2006 is the price of 2005 times 1 plus growth rate in 2000 growth rate in year one, right? Think about it. This is the growth rate for 2006, and 2006 house value is the result of 20% growth from 2005 house price. Does that make sense? In other words, if this grew by 20%, 20% of this is 30,000, right? Think about it. It becomes this. So mathematically, it can be expressed as, let me open OneNote. Okay, so draw. Okay. 2006 house price is 2000 house price plus 20%, the growth rate in year one, right? 2000, 20% of 2000 house price was the growth portion, right? In other words, this is the capital gains. Now, whatever, so I don't need to. And this makes sense to everyone, right? This makes sense. Anyone, does anyone have, if you have, any questions, if you have, if you don't understand this, please ask now, right? I will explain. let me plug in the number. In 2005, at the end of 2005, the house value was 150K, right? Wasn't it? And then
Yeah, it was 150.
right. I want to
And it
move
went up
this.
to 180, I think.
Right. But that 180 is what? The 180 is 20% of this. I mean, 180 is, this plus 20%.
The 20%.
It doesn't just, how do I move this? Can't move this. Oh, I'll just have to, the screen doesn't move. This is the problem. But you get the idea, right? The screen doesn't move. So what do I need to do? And think about it. 30K is 20%, right? 30K is 150K times 20%. Isn't that right? Right? So that's what it is. That's why, I put it like this: 2005 price plus 2005 price times growth rate 1. Growth rate in year 1, right? Which was 20%. Then this is not the best way to express it. In other words, always, you must bring it to the simplest form. All formulas or all, algebraic expression must be reduced to the simplest form. In this case, price 2005 is the common factor. If there's a common factor, you must factor it out, right? So then if we factor out 2005 price, then this becomes 1, and the next one becomes just G1. So, something wrong here. What did I do? Okay, if you factor out, all right, everyone. So if you multiply back, right, if you distribute it over 1 plus G1, then it becomes, again, P2005 plus P2005 times G1. Now, if that is, so think about it, if that is 2006 house price, then the same logic can be applied to 2007 house price, which is, 2006 house price times 1 plus G2, right? Which is, a growth rate in year 2. And then think about it. We can rewrite 2006 price by its own definition. What's the definition of 2006 price? Anyone? What's the definition of 2006 price?
180,000.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. That's right. But then that's just a number.
Mhm.
But what is this mathematical definition? I'm
Oh,
not when I ask for definition, I'm not asking for verbal definition. I'm asking for mathematical definition. So or algebraic
uh,
definition.
Are you asking us the formula?
Yeah, well, yeah. Mathematical definition means formula, of course. Algebraic model, algebraic formula. So what is it? We already defined it, didn't we? Hmm? We already
It seems
defined it.
so.
What's that?
Yeah, it seems like that's the inclination right there.
Which one? So tell
P
me.
2007 equals P 2006, and
Yes,
then
yes.
followed by
That's
1
the
plus, yeah.
followed by what? You just said P 2005
I'm
and then
sorry,
what?
yeah, 1 plus the growth rate in year 2.
Yeah, yeah. That's the definition of P 2006, right? Um, and okay, who was that? Who said that?
Tia?
Tia. Okay, Tia. So you'll get 0.5 for for that answer. Today is 0207, and this section is 1401. So Tia, you got 0.5. Yes, that's the definition of, right? Uh, we already defined P 2006 equals, right? We defined it like this. P 2005 times 1 plus G1. So if we replace P 2006 by its own definition, then it becomes, yep, then it becomes P 2005 times 1 plus G1 times 1 plus G2, right? So this is, basically, what compounding is. In year one, it grew by growth rate G1, and then so from P 2005, it grew by 1 plus G1, and in the second year, it grew by 1 plus G2. And then basically, P 2005 times 1 plus G1 is P 2006. And if we continue like this, right? If we continue, if we keep going like this, right? This is what it is. 2006 is like 2007 is basically P 2006 plus 1 plus G2, which is, oh, that's 2007, right? And then if we keep going like this, we can express 2006, which is, P 2015 times 1 plus G11, which is, the result of P 2005 growing by 1 plus G1 in year 1, 1 plus G2 year 2, and 1 plus G3, and so on. So if we generalize it by, if we generalize the time subscript by t plus n, t and t plus n, right? Basically, t plus n, price at time t plus n is the result of price at time t and all its successive growth rates, right? So it comes to, p sub t plus n is P sub t times 1 plus G1 times 1 plus G2 all the way. And G minus N2 is, G N minus 2 is, 2 years from, if our last final year is N, G N minus 1 is, N minus 1 is 1 year before. N minus 2 is 2 years before, right? So with that in mind, okay, so this is a product, right? In other words, PT plus N is a product of all these terms. So in other words, that's what this formula is telling you. Okay, that's what this formula is telling you. But of course, that's when we found the geometric average. So here, we'll find 1 plus G, right? Because for each year, it's 1 plus this. That's the growth rate. It's the gross growth rate, right? Because 20% is just net growth rate, right? The gross growth rate is, you'll have to add 1. And the reason is, just exactly what you saw, right? Because we factored out the common factor, right? So if we do that for all these years, right? This is what we come to. That's the product of all of these, So in other words, if we start from here and going through all of these, you will arrive at this, right? So we'll just check if that's true. So this times, if you went through all of this, this is the result of. Think about it. This is price of the house in 2005. That times this, that will be the price 2006. That times this will be 2007, and that times this will be price 2008. So basically, if we multiply all of these, the product of all of those terms would be 3.333, and if I multiply that by the initial price, oops, I didn't do anything, so no. If I multiply by that, you will get exactly this, right? It's supposed to be exactly, so that's the idea behind it. Now, and what about scenario 2? In scenario 2, we'll just again we'll find 1 plus R, and then we drag it down. It comes to this, and we'll check. Oh, then let's check this times. This will be actually this will be meaningless. I mean, doing that will be meaningless because it should arrive at it should give us. I mean, we're not trying to arrive at the price of the house at the end of 2016, so it doesn't do. But as we found this, the geometric average is already calculated. Why? Because I used the geomean command. This is geometric average. But if you want to use geomean command, you will have to have 1 plus R. All of 1 plus R, and then minus 1. Of course, minus 1 will, without subtracting 1, you won't get the net growth rate. You will get a gross return, not the net return. So you'll have to subtract 1, In other words, from here, right? From 1 plus G1, if you don't subtract 1, you don't, that will come to 130, 120%, right? 120, think about it. If you, because G1 is 20%, right? If you leave it like this, it's 120%. But, that's the gross growth rate. And the between, the difference between the gross and the net is, this one. If you
So does that add like an additional 10%?
No. Why additional 10%? One is 100%. 10%
No,
is
I was just
0.1.
asking, so it could be the total 30.
One is the 2005 house price, the original base. One is always
Oh,
the original
150.
base, right? One is the original base. Now think about it. I don't know what color it's going to give you. You multiply it back, then it becomes, this one becomes this one becomes this, right? P 2005 times 1, P 2005, P 2005 times G1, P 2005 times G1, right? Now, 1 is always the base of the growth, right? So 1 plus G1 will always give you the gross return or gross growth rate. Otherwise, you won't get to 180K. You won't get to 180K, right? And if you want to show the return or growth rate in net growth rate, right? In net terms, right? Then of course you'll have to subtract 1, right? I mean, you can say either, the economy grew 10% from last year, or this year's, GDP is 110% of last year. It means the same thing. When you say, this year's, GDP is 110% of last year's GDP, then you're talking about it in gross terms. But if you're saying, the economy grew by 10%, you're just talking about the net growth, right? And that 10% is the result of subtracting 1 from 110%, right? 1 is 100% in percentage, right? So, we, and this, down here, what is this? Well, I just used, that's the same thing, right? In scenario 1, this is the geometric average. In scenario 2, this is the geometric average. So what did I do here? I just did this. H14 raised to 1 over n minus 1. Where did it come from? It is this formula, right? This is Greek character pi. And you think, pi is always, you think pi is something like this. That's lowercase. That's right. That's lowercase. Uppercase looks like this is uppercase. And of course, pi is p, so it stands for pi is Roman alphabet p, so it means product of. So then, 1 plus gi, where I runs from 1 through n. So that means, 1 plus g1, 1 plus g2, 1 plus g3, right? You're, multiplying all of them, finding, product of all of them, all the way to 1 plus n. And if we have, think about it. So basically, I'm going to get back to this, but if we multiply all the 1 plus g I, right, growth rates at each period, each time period, 1 through n, and then we raise it to 1 over n minus 1, and we get the that's the geometric average. But once we get the geometric average, doing this will all collapse to this simply. In other words, suppose G1, G2, G3, G4, Gn minus 2, Gn minus 1, Gn, they are all the same. In other words, just G. How can they be the same? If we found the average, right? Average will, if we found average, we get to the same result, right? By replacing all individual growth rates by average, we come to the same result, right? We will all come to the same result. So this means if for all t, right, where I is not equal to j, that means 1 is not equal to 2, 2 is not equal to 3, right? In other words, time subscript, right? Year 1 is not equal to year 2. Growth, that means year 2 is not equal to year 3. Growth rate in year 1 is not equal to growth rate in year 2, right? Growth rate in year 2 is not equal to growth rate in year 3, and so on, right? So in other words, for different years, that means for all different years, for all different years, growth rate in year 1 is equal to growth rate in 2. Growth rate in year 2 is equal to growth rate in year 3. That means they are all the same thing. All the growth rates are the same thing. So we don't need time subscript anymore. We'll just rewrite it as G. Okay, which means growth rate and geometric average. Then everything will collapse to PT times 1 plus G raised to n. Think about it. That's only natural. Jesus, how do I move this? Okay. Will it? It still draws. What's... How do I undo draw? Okay, let's see if I can do it here. So, think about it. If we have PT plus n, and if it is all, this 1 plus g, if growth rates are all the same for all those n years, it's going to look like this. And there will be, because the growth rates are all the same, and there will be, n terms, n number of this, then we know this is not the best thing. This is not the right way to write it. That's a very inefficient way of writing it. So it's going to be p sub t times 1 plus g raised to n, right? We know very well if it is 1 plus g times 1 plus g, right? If we know very well if it is 1 plus g times 1 plus g, we know it is 1 plus g squared, right? So just like that, if we have 11 of them in the string, then is 1 plus g raised to n. That's why we came to, if we are solving for g, this is why it gives us but how that's why it gives us this formula for geometric average, or compounded growth rate. Okay, but how this formula is derived is going to be a different story. So we're going to talk about that in topic 2. In topic 1, we cannot get to that just yet. So, any questions so far? Any questions? Any questions?
What does T plus M represent again?
T plus N.
M,
T plus,
as in Mary?
No. There is no T plus M. There is T plus N. So N is...
Oh, that's N. Oh.
N. Look,
Okay.
so if T is 2005, in our example, that is the beginning of our holding period, right? T plus N is the end point of our holding period. So if N was, in our example, N is 11, right? Because we sold the house in 2016, right? So T is the base year, whichever year we want to use as the base year. I mean, in our example, end of 2005 was our beginning of our timeline, right? Beginning of our holding period. And N was 11. 11 years later, end of 2016, we sold a house. So that represents just the, how many, N is just any number. It can be any number, right? It just happens to be 11 in our example. Okay? Any other questions? Our time is up already. Our time is up. So if there's no further questions, I'll have to call it a day. So have a great afternoon, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Okay?
All right, thank you, Professor.
Have a
All
good
right,
day.
all right, you're welcome. Have a great afternoon. I'll stop sharing and stop recording and sign.